Welcome everyone to the technical assistance session for the Clean Energy Primes Contractor Accelerator program. This program is supported by the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. We hope that this information will encourage you to apply and provide some best practices and tools to be successful in your application. Before I begin, I would like to do a little housekeeping. This technical assistance session is recorded. If you have any questions, please put your question in the chat. If we are unable to get to answer your question during the webinar in the chat, it will be included in the online FAQ. We will send out the recording and the slide deck after the webinar. The slides and presentation will also be posted on the Notice of Funding Opportunity website at the link posted in the chat. Please make sure you registered for this conference with your email address. The recording link from this conference will be sent to the email address you used for registering. If you use someone else's credentials today to log in or are watching with a friend, the link will not come to you directly and it will go to the registrant. So the link for registration is posted in the chat as well. Right, so my name is Stacy Gloss, and I work with the Smart Energy Design Assistance Center, or CDAC, at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. I'm working with a team supporting DCEO in the implementation of CEJA programs. I am joined by Erica White, the State Director for the Illinois SBDC Network in DCEO, and Christy Dula, the Director of the Office of Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Technology. The OEIT office is responsible for administering both the Clean Energy Contractor Incubator Program and the Clean Energy Primes Contractor Accelerator Program for CEJA. We also have Amber Broughton with us today, who is joining from the Office of Accountability to present on GATA rules later in the presentation. Today, we're going to cover many topics. We will go over the foundational legislation, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, and then move into details about the grant opportunity. We will discuss funding information, eligibility information, and details about program submission. Afterwards, I will hand it off to Amber to present on the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act for GATA. If there is time, we will open the meeting for questions and answers at the end. Just a note that the session is being recorded. The recording will be made available on the Primes Contractor Accelerator Program NOFO website. Let's review some Zoom basics. Throughout the webinar, please keep your microphone on mute to minimize disruptions to the presentation. You may keep your video on or off during the presentation. If there is time at the end, we may go into a Q&A where the audience can ask questions out loud to the presenters. Before speaking, please raise your hand using the raise your hand function and you will be called on by a facilitator. You may put questions in the chat at any time. These may be answered by one of our program specialists listening in. If your question is not answered in the chat or by a facilitator in this meeting, your question will be recorded and answered in the Q&A document linked to the NOFO website. So let's get started with a discussion of the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act legislation. CEJA is the landmark energy legislation in Illinois that centers equity and puts Illinois on track to achieve 100% renewable energy by 2050. You can see in this pie chart that it encompasses a lot of different aspects of workforce and business development. We will be talking about these today, but I also want to emphasize that there's a lot more to this legislation. CEJA encompasses energy access and solar for all. It includes renewable energy components, energy efficiency components, important for achieving carbon-free power. CEJA also includes funding for electric transportation and support for fossil fuel workers and their families. As we move towards a 100% renewable energy future, we have to be mindful that historically, not all groups of people and communities have had access to new opportunities, and many have been disproportionately impacted by environmental change and community disinvestment. One of the goals of CEJA is to ensure that the benefits of clean energy investments in good-paying, clean energy jobs are distributed equitably. Workforce development fits into the larger CEJA initiative. Illinois is investing in clean energy sources, electric vehicles, and energy efficiency, and we need to expand this clean energy workforce to do the work. One of the goals of CEJA is to ensure that the benefits of clean energy investments and good paying clean energy jobs are distributed equitably. So how do we define equity? Equity gets everyone the support they need, and justice removes the barriers. This is in contrast with equality, where we see that everyone receives the same support levels. However, what we know to be true is that not everyone starts at the same starting point. In the image on the left, equality does not account for the height of each individual trying to see over the fence. As a result, even though each person received the same support, someone is still left out of being able to see the soccer game. Equity ensures everyone receives the support they need in order to participate. CEJA is written with equity activities that have the potential to yield justice, changing outcomes. CEJA will benefit communities and groups of people throughout the state with a specific focus on equity investment eligible communities, which include Restore, Renew, and Reinvest, or R3 communities, and environmental justice communities. An R3 community is one that has been harmed by violence, excessive incarceration, and economic disinvestment. An environmental justice community is one where residents have historically been subject to disproportionate burdens of pollution. Here are just two examples of eligible communities: various areas in Chicagoland and in Peoria. The link found on this slide will take you to a map showing all the equity investment communities in Illinois. An array of programs have been developed or expanded under CEJA legislation, which spans multiple state agencies. On the screen are the workforce development programs that fall within the purview of DCEO and DCEO's offices. The expectation is that this ecosystem of programs will benefit communities and groups of people throughout the state with a specific focus on R3 and environmental justice communities. On the top left, workforce training and support programs will provide training for workers for clean energy jobs. On the right are the contractor business support programs, which include the Contractor Incubator Program and the Primes Contractor Accelerator Program. The programs will really need to work together to engage employers, engage contractors and industry leaders, and union apprenticeships to facilitate job placement and to facilitate work-based learning opportunities. These workforce programs cannot exist without strong partnerships and employers. The equity-focused contractor support programs are meant to help contractors expand their capacity to do clean energy projects that are funded by CEJA and other legislation. The Contractor Incubator and Prime Contractor Accelerator will help clean energy contractors receive the resources and funds they need to support business growth. The programs will help contractor businesses identify and bid on the kinds of clean energy projects that will get our state to 100% renewables by 2050. So what is a clean energy business or nonprofit in Illinois? Clean energy businesses and nonprofits include manufacturing, developing, building, installing, maintaining, or providing ancillary services in the industries represented on this slide. Clean energy businesses may also provide administrative, sales, and other support functions in these industries as well. Next, I'll provide an overview of the Clean Energy Primes Contractor Accelerator Program. The prime goal of the Primes Contractor Accelerator Program is to increase business opportunities for the clean energy contractors that serve areas impacted by economic, social, and environmental challenges. Primes leads will provide services to a small cohort of businesses to help them grow and achieve economic vitality. How is the Clean Energy Contractor Incubator Program different from Clean Energy Primes? While these programs have some overlapping services, the incubator program is more focused on serving businesses that are in their startup phase, while the Primes Accelerator program is focused on next stage business growth. There is also a significant difference in commitment from the participant contractors in these programs. The Primes program provides much more intensive long-term business coaching, technical assistance, and operational support grants to a smaller cohort of clean energy contractors. The Contractor Incubator Program reach is more broad with shorter-term services in providing technical assistance and training. It is expected that the contractor incubators will serve a larger number of contractor businesses throughout the state. Contractors in Illinois may start by receiving services with the Contractor Incubator Program, and they can later apply to participate in the Primes Accelerator Program when they are ready to commit to receiving more intensive business supports. These programs will be delivered in 3 program delivery areas, which include Northern, Central, and Southern Illinois. The program lead selected for each region will support the development and growth of clean energy contractor businesses in their respective program delivery areas. The Primes program leads are going to be responsible for providing program services within their service areas, and there are 12 required program elements that are described in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO. The elements include outreach and recruitment, application assistance and business participation selection, assessments and goal setting, business coaching, expert coach referrals, tracking participant progress, training and technical assistance, recruiting mentors and paying them stipends, networking events, grant disbursement to the participant businesses, and reporting. We will delve into each of these in the following slides. The first 2 program elements describe how Primes program leads will publicize the program. The leads will recruit a cohort of 3 to 5 applicants every 18 months. This work may include contracting with community-based organizations that have experience working with equity investment eligible communities in order to provide recruitment services. When potential participants are identified, the Primes program lead will help the applicants in applying to participate in the Primes Accelerator program. Here are the minimum qualifications for participants to apply to participate in the Primes Accelerator program. This is different than the minimum qualifications needed for the applicants to become the program lead. So businesses that wish to apply for the Primes Accelerator program should have 2 or more years of experience in a clean energy or a related contracting field. They need to have at least $5,000 in annual business and a substantial and demonstrated commitment of investing in and partnering with individuals and institutions in equity investment eligible communities. The department will use additional criteria to select participants from a pool of applicant businesses. The selection criteria will include an evaluation of potential job creation and wage benefits, maturity of the contractor's strategic growth plans, quality of past projects, contractor capacity and future revenue potential, willingness to assume risk, evidence of business models that build wealth in larger underserved communities, and a history of commitment to advancing equity. We expect the leads to work with 2 cohorts of 3 to 5 businesses in the Accelerator program over 3 years, recruiting 1 cohort in the first 18 months and then recruiting a second cohort of participant businesses in the next 18 months of operations. Once participants have been selected, the Primes Accelerator lead organization assesses the participant business assesses the participants' business and business practices to identify the training and coaching needs they have to grow their business. The leads will work with the participants to develop work plans and goals upon program entry and will work with them annually thereafter to revise these plans. The required program elements 4 and 5 are related to business coaching. The program leads will themselves provide one-on-one coaching for business participants and assist the participants in developing a 5-year business plan. Now, the lead will also match participants with expert business coaches with subject matter experience as needed. For example, a participant business may need training related to hiring returning residents. Expert business coaches should be brought in by the program lead to conduct relevant trainings and provide coaching. The PRIMES program leads will track participant progress towards their goals throughout the PRIMES Accelerator program. The leads and their participants are expected to meet monthly in order to track metrics and review progress. Participants will undergo an annual review. The department and the program lead will make recommendations about the participant's continuation in the program. They'll assess whether the participant is ready to graduate and evaluate participants' levels of support or funding for adjustments in grant funding, loans, and related services. This just makes sure that the program is tailored and meeting the business needs of the participants. Program leads provide training and technical assistance to help participant contractors. They will help the participants apply for government and private business opportunities, help apply for minority business enterprise certification and other relevant certifications. They can help prepare bids or responses to requests for proposals. They can help the participant become listed in relevant directories and databases organized by the Department of Central Management Services. They should connect participants with the Illinois Power Authority's Illinois Shines and Solar for All programs. They'll help the applicants apply for approved vendor status for programs offered by utilities, and help participants apply for financial development assistance programs, such as loans from the Illinois Climate Bank. In delivery of program element 8, leads are responsible for recruiting mentor companies in the participants' field to provide mentor services. The leads collaborate with the mentor companies in delivery of program services. What the program lead will strive for from the mentor service contract is 2 years of mentoring services to be provided by the mentor to the participant. Services can include on-the-job training, site walkthroughs, evaluations of business processes and structure, quality assurance, quality control, and any other relevant activities that will assist the participant business in their success. The lead will provide stipends to the mentors for their services. And the lead will also evaluate the mentor-mentee pairing and make recommendations about continuing for a second year. Networking and connections. The program leads will host networking events and activities to facilitate connections between participants and potential partners, subcontractors, and employees. The leads will help the participants use the Energy Workforce Equity Portal to connect participating contractors with Illinois Power Agency resources. The leads will also help participants connect with Apex accelerators and small business development centers in Illinois. Coordination. The PRIMES program leads will coordinate efforts and services with the other CEJA workforce programs. PRIMES Contractor Accelerators will coordinate with the CEJA Contractor Incubator programs to match participants to relevant services. Operational support grant distribution. The program leads will dispense a participant's awarded operational grant funding based on anticipated project size and scope. Operational grant funding should be included in the applicant's budget. Be sure to pay close attention to the NOFO requirements related to budgeting for this program. The grants to participants shall not exceed 11%, well, 11.1% of the applicant's budget to support the growth of participant contractors with access to capital for upfront project costs and pre-development funding, among other uses. The amount of the operational grants shall be based on anticipated project size and scope. The last program element is related to metrics and reporting. The program leads will collect and report data from participants. Examples of the types of information collected are listed in this slide. Information collected is necessary to understand the participant's business, including financial and income information, certifications, business ownership, employee and subcontractor data, compensation, length of service, and demographics. The performance measures and reporting requirements are listed here. Each Primes program lead will submit quarterly reports. Included in these quarterly reports are participant demographics, participant contractor engagement in other Illinois clean energy programs, such as the Adjustable Block Grant, Illinois Solar for All, and utility run energy efficiency and electric vehicle programs, retention of participants in each cohort, total projects bid and completed by participants, including information about revenue, hiring, and subcontractor relationships, certifications obtained and held, employment data for contractor hires and industry jobs created, including demographics, salaries, length of service, and geographic data. The program is also collecting information about the grants and loans distributed to the participant contractors. They should collect participant satisfaction with the program to be used for improvements in the program, and collect business coaching metrics. The Primes Accelerator programs must incorporate core equity values. These include diversity, inclusion, equity, and accessibility in all of their program elements. So I'm going to review the definition for each. Diversity is the representation of people from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. Inclusion is the action or state of including and feeling as an empowered sense of belonging within a group or organization. Accessibility, according to the Office for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Education, is when a person with a disability is afforded the opportunity to acquire the same information, engage in the same interactions, and enjoy the same services as a person without a disability in an equally integrated and equally effective manner with substantially equivalent ease of use. The Office of Equity extends accessibility beyond disability to include the creation of financially, technology, and linguistically accessible systems, resources, and services so that all can thrive in a society. Each of these three foundational elements contribute to equity. The state or quality or ideal of being just, impartial, and fair. Equity must also be both structural and systemic and comprised of a robust infrastructure and dynamic process that produces equitable ideas, power, and resources. In your applications, we want to see how your outreach and recruitment strategies are equitable. How will the training you provide remove barriers to business obstacles faced by businesses rooted in equity-eligible communities? Are you connecting with diverse stakeholders and developing relationships with equity-eligible populations? These are just a few examples of the ways that we expect equity to show up in your program. These contractor development programs are equity focused, and this goes beyond who they are serving and the simple numeric numerical targets of these programs. We expect the Primes Accelerator program to work to eliminate and reduce barriers to businesses' success by offering training and services. Programs should build a community of collaboration among participant businesses and empower them for resilience and success. Programs will set goals and measure outcomes and then adjust the programs as needed to make sure that equity goals are met. And finally, we hope that grantees will create a culture of belonging that celebrates differences. Bringing it all together, here are a few ways that the Primes Contractor Accelerator can help with a clean energy contractor business to help them grow. If a business lacks upfront capital for clean energy projects, the program lead can provide technical assistance, training, and other assistance to apply for Equitable Energy Futures grants or other low-cost capital grants made available through CEJA. If the business is experiencing difficulty managing business operations, such as maintaining records or managing inventory, then the Accelerator lead can provide business coaching, operational support grants, and connections to contractor incubator services that may provide technical assistance and training that help in these areas. What if a participating business has no long-term plan for growth? The program lead is going to help develop a 5-year business plan and provide mentorship to help the business grow. An issue could be a lack of knowledge about insurance or permitting requirements. In this case, the Primes lead can host training events with experts and provide individualized technical assistance and connections, again, to the contractor incubator program that may offer services in this area. Maybe a clean energy business is having difficulty competing on clean energy related projects installations due to their size. The leads should offer partnering and networking events that will facilitate subcontracting on projects to grow the reach and capabilities of participating businesses. Sometimes there's just simply a lack of awareness of the clean energy project opportunities and requirements. The program leads should provide assistance with registering as approved vendors and taking advantage of funding opportunities in Illinois. Now we turn to funding information and applicant eligibility. This grant program is utilizing state funds from the Energy Transition Assistance Fund appropriated by the Illinois General Assembly. The total amount of funding expected to be awarded is up to $9 million per year, and the award range is $1 million to $3 million per grantee. The $9 million is for the first 12 months of operation. The department expects to make 3 awards. The anticipated start date in the NOFO for this award is September 1st, 2024, and the performance period is expected to go through August 31st, 2025. The department intends to offer up to 2 12-month extensions based on grantee performance. The eligible program leads that can apply to this grant will have experience in the following areas. These are the criteria that the state is looking for from eligible program leads. Leading a large contractor-based business in Illinois, or experience with leading a large contractor-based business in Illinois, experience with providing coaching and mentoring services, experience with developing relationships with companies in the service area, a history of working with equity investment eligible community members, organizations, and businesses, and finally, knowledge of the clean energy industry in Illinois. Interested organizations may propose to deliver all of the required elements, or they may subcontract to other entities that have the experience that meets the needs of the program. The department encourages applicant teams to include experienced organizations to deliver some of the program elements. These other organizations can include, for partnering with, the Illinois Small Business Development Centers and the Illinois Apex Accelerator Program, formerly the Illinois Procurement and Technical Assistance Program. Organizations that deliver these programs can be the lead applicant or a subgrantee. The Illinois Clean Energy Primes Accelerator program describes its required staffing plan. Applicants to be the lead for this program have to identify a program lead, so one person, who will devote 100% of their time to managing the program. If the position will be filled by a new hire, applicants should attach a job description in the staffing plan. The program lead will be responsible for program compliance and ensuring that performance metrics are met and required reporting is done. They will oversee program operations, oversee onboarding staff, and monitoring the performance of program goals. Applicants will also need to identify multiple full-time and part-time staff to deliver various program elements, including but not limited to program administration, outreach, recruitment, and participant intake, business coaching, business technical assistance and training, mentorship coordination, business development advising, and business professional networking support. Now, these areas can be staffed by full or part-time employees of the organization, contractors to this project, or subcontractor partner organizations. Next, we're going to review application and submission information. First, the applicant must register in the GATA portal. GATA is the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act in Illinois, and it will be discussed more in depth later in this presentation. As part of the grant submission package, the applicant needs to prepare all of the elements included on this screen. These materials include the uniform grant application, a uniform budget including costs for 1 year using DCEO's template, conflict of interest disclosure, mandatory disclosure, 1-page executive summary, up to 20-page technical proposal, a staffing plan as defined earlier, and a 3-year work plan that describes the design and implementation of all elements of the program defined in Section A of the NOFO. I want to repeat just one more time again here. So the work plan that an applicant provides should spell out the work plan for 3 years. But when it comes to the budgeting, only include a 1-year budget in your submission. Do pay attention to the application formatting requirements for the submission. For example, the NOFO states that applications must be formatted to 8.5 by 11 inches on page sizing using an 11-point font. The executive summary and technical proposal have to be single-spaced with 1-inch margins. All pages must be sequentially numbered. It can take more time than you think to finalize the materials to submit as a full packet. Don't wait for the last minute to make sure the formatting requirements have been fulfilled. Grants submitted after 5 p.m. on the due date will be considered late and will not be reviewed. Applicants must submit an executive summary and technical proposal. The funding announcement provides direction for what information needs to be included in each section. Note that each section of the technical proposal must correspond with the application review criteria in Part E of the NOFO. The technical proposal narrative will need to include information about the applicant team's capacity and qualifications. The documentation of need section will identify the region where the project operates, and it will describe barriers and economic conditions faced by businesses in target communities. It's important to describe the expected impact of the project on identified target populations, communities, and expected job growth in the clean energy and related trades. The program or project plan described in the technical proposal narrative should correspond with the work plan attachment. Applicants must prepare and include a budget narrative to accompany the uniform grant budget. The budget narrative will contain a detailed breakdown of budget expenses and a justification for their cost. For this program, there are allowable costs and there are disallowed costs. The allowable costs for the Primes Accelerator program include personnel, including salaries, wages, and fringe benefits, travel and supplies, contractual services, subawards, and consultant fees, miscellaneous costs, including reasonable food costs for events. Operational support grants for participant contractors should be included in the budget, and this fund should not exceed 11.1% of the total budget per award annually. You will also need to think about and include costs for including stipends for the businesses that will provide mentorship to the participant contractors through the mentorship program. The costs that are not allowed by this program include capital expenditures for general purpose equipment, buildings, and land as direct or indirect costs. Proposals will require both the staffing plan and a work plan. These are attachments found in the appendix of the NOFO and the NOFO website. The staffing plan must include resumes of key staff and may include job descriptions for any positions that the application team is preparing to hire. MOUs or memorandums of support should be submitted with all key partners detailing the entity's information, key staff information, roles and responsibilities associated with the project, and the dollar amounts for services that will be provided. MOUs need to be signed by the applicant and their subgrantee. A work plan should be in alignment with the narrative work plan in the technical proposal. All outcomes, tasks, deliverables, milestones, and a project timeline should be presented. And again, the work plan will be for 3 years. When completing the staffing plan and the work plan, make sure that the final version is legible to the merit review team. Make sure that the information printed in each text box is fully readable and has not been cut off by Excel or PDF software when the final plans are submitted for review. Once Excel is converted to PDF and submitted to DCEO, you should consider that each of those cells is basically locked in PDF format, meaning that the rows and columns cannot be re-expanded to read the information that the applicant team carefully crafted. I mentioned that the application review criteria is in Part E of the NOFO. Read the section carefully as it directly relates to information that will be organized in the technical proposal. Applications are scored in 4 key areas. These include documentation of need, applicant qualifications and capacity, project quality and integration, and cost effectiveness and return on investment. The applications are scored using the merit review process and scoring criteria specified in the NOFO. For more information about this NOFO, you can submit questions to ceo.eit.ceja@illinois.gov, and this email address is shared in the chat. The application due date for program leads is July 2nd at 5 p.m. As stated in the beginning of the presentation, any questions not answered during this presentation will be addressed in the Q&A link on the NOFO page. If you have questions about this NOFO, please check the Q&A first to find out if your question has already been answered. If you have a new question, please submit it to ceo.eit.ceja@illinois.gov. Your question and responses will be shared in the Q&A document on the NOFO page so that everybody can receive access to the same information. At this time, I am happy to turn this presentation over to Amber from the Office of Accountability to begin the GATA training review. Thank you so much for attending today, and we look forward to your proposals.
All right, thank you, Stacy. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just 1 minute. I apologize for this. Okay. I think we were ready to go. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Amber Broughton. I am with the DCEO Office of Accountability. And in my part of the presentation, I'm going to be discussing the GATA grantee portal, pre-qualification, and other requirements to keep in mind. All right, I'll go over the DCEO grant process, how to register in the GATA grantee portal, pre-qualification, what that means, what you need to know as an applicant. I'll briefly touch on the notice of funding opportunity, and then what to expect once you receive a grant award. All right, so this is just a big picture overview of the grant process here at DCEO. So we're in that first column there, the pre-qualification, application submission, and review. So all of your pre-qualification items must be in good standing, which I'm going to discuss in a later slide. Having that fiscal and administrative assessment, the ICQ assessment, which I will go more into detail about that. Then it's time to submit those application documents. So like Stacy went through the documents that are needed for this particular grant. Those will need to be submitted by the due date. Then your application is reviewed by a merit review committee. Applicants will receive notice either way, whether or not you are receiving the award, you will receive notice from DCEO. Then it's time for the development of the grant agreement. So you're going to receive a notice of state award in the GATA grantee portal that you will need to go in there and accept the award. And then it's time to develop this grant agreement, which this is going to be the legally binding document between you as the grantee and DCEO, laying out all of the expectations and all of the requirements for your particular grant. You will sign it as the grantee, DCEO leadership signs it, and then it is considered executed. On to when you have an active grant, then it's periodic reporting. So once the project objectives are being implemented, you are going to submit regular reports. These are financial and performance reports. You will be assigned a grant manager here at DCEO that you will be submitting documents to unless you're told otherwise. Then you'll be reimbursed for the expenditures that are listed in those reports. Also want folks to keep in mind that annual audit reports will be due in the GATA grantee portal. Then it's the closeout of the grant. So the grant is closed once the grant period ends. All right, so we've used this term GATA. This refers to the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act. So this is the state of Illinois' way of adopting the federal grant guidance and regulations codified in 2 CFR Part 200, and we are using them for state grants. So this is used by all Illinois state agencies, the same rules, increasing accountability and transparency. If you'd like to learn more about 2 CFR 200, you can Google that really quickly and it will bring up 2 CFR 200 and give you those details to the regulations. All right, the GATA grantee portal. If you are brand new to state of Illinois grants, this is something that you're definitely going to want to start on right away. You will need to set up an account on this portal page. This is a system that is used for grant activity across all agencies. So if you are brand new to the site, on this screenshot, you can see it says create account in the middle. If you've been on there before, that grantee GATA portal sign in to the left is the one that you'll want. All right, I highly recommend checking out the GATA new user guide. If you are brand new to the GATA grantee portal, this is essential. It will go through step-by-step instructions for registering in the portal. I think it's also a helpful document if it's been a while or if you have any kind of troubleshooting questions. This is a good manual to have. I also recommend checking out the Grant Accountability and Transparency Unit at the Governor's Office of Management and Budget. They're kind of the statewide experts on all things GATA. So their website at gata.illinois.gov, they have a large amount of information and resources available to you if you would like to kind of delve deeper into some of these GATA items that I'm discussing. All right, so I've used this term pre-qualification. What does that mean? The state of Illinois has defined a set of requirements for all organizations seeking to receive grant funding. So you must meet these requirements and be deemed qualified and in good standing. Basically, you're just making sure that you have all your ducks in a row, you have all of the registrations, all of those things in place before it's time to submit an application. This pre-qualification status must be met by the close of the grant application in which you are applying. So that means that your organization has met all of the outlined requirements by the time the grant application is to be reviewed. This is an example of how your entity's pre-qualification could look in the GATA grantee portal. So you scroll down from the main page and you'll see this section that says pre-qualification status. The items in red require action by you, the entity, and they need to be addressed. So in this case, this entity has a sam.gov account that something is going on with it and we need to fix the issue. So you can see to the right there, they've got that help button that will help guide you through remediating that issue. They also need to check in on their Illinois Secretary of State registration. The item listed in yellow, that means that something is being evaluated by the state and it is considered pending. It will usually work itself out in a day or two. Nothing that you need to do as the entity. It's those red items that you are going to want to address right away. All right, so I'm just going to go through each of these pre-qualification items. sam.gov account. So an entity must have an active registration with sam.gov, and that is a federal website, System of Award Management. This sam.gov registration needs to be validated annually. Let's see, the UEI number. So when you first register in the sam.gov website, it's going to give you a UEI number, and that is used in the state GATA grantee portal. I definitely want to emphasize that you need to complete the entire sam.gov registration. Oftentimes we'll see folks get that UEI number and think that's it and stop the registration. There are more steps involved, so just make sure that you complete the registration. Also want to note that your registration needs to be set to public. When it's set to public, that ensures that the federal site, sam.gov, can sync properly with the state site, the GATA grantee portal. So you're going to want to make sure that your registration is set to public. And if this is brand new to you, if you are not registered in sam.gov, I definitely recommend that you get started on this one. The review process for this federal site can take up to 10 business days. So you don't want to wait until the due date of the application for this one. You're going to want to get started on this one. Next up is a federal employer ID number or FEIN. This is used to identify a business entity. It is provided by the IRS free of charge if your company or your organization doesn't already have one. Nothing that you need to do with this requirement. Once you get that FEIN number in your portal page, the verification will be confirmed automatically from sam.gov. So nothing that you need to do with this one. All right, you cannot be on the federal excluded parties list. If you are on this list, that means that you are excluded from receiving federal contracts or other types of federal assistance or benefits. This is usually a pretty severe case. We don't see this very often, but if you do find yourself on that list, you are not eligible for state of Illinois funding. This is generated by sam.gov. So nothing that you need to do with this one. Once you have your SAM.gov registration synced with the GATA grantee portal, it will automatically update and let us know if there is any issue. To do business with the state of Illinois, entities must be registered with the Illinois Secretary of State, and they need to obtain a certificate of good standing. This demonstrates that the entity exists and is in full compliance with state regulations. The exception to this would be governmental entities. If you're a governmental entity, you are not required to obtain the certificate of good standing. You can obtain that certificate of good standing at ilsos.gov. It's a pretty good website. They go through kind of how to get the certificate, and they have a good help section in there for you if you have any questions about that. All right, next up is the Illinois Stop Payment List. You cannot be on the Illinois Stop Payment List. That will be considered you are not pre-qualified. So this means that an organization has fallen out of compliance. It's usually with a past grant. Usually you are missing a report or you are missing an audit. Usually this is something that can be reversed. So if you do see that your entity is on the stop payment list, recommend contacting your former grant manager or your cognizant agency. Here at DCEO, you can contact ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov, and we can help work with you on what the issue is, how to get that reversed. And this is also one of those items that you don't want to wait until the last minute, because there might be a little bit to this issue that we need to work through. So definitely check on that one. You also cannot be on the Illinois Department of Healthcare and Family Services, or DHFS, sanction list. They have the authority to impose sanctions on entities and individuals. You're not eligible for Medicaid reimbursement. So if you find yourself on this list, your entity on this list, you are not eligible for state of Illinois grants. A couple of other just quick GATA grantee portal tips. Make sure that you have a current and accurate contact list. So the staff that you work with, the folks that have access to your organization's portal page, make sure that it's accurate and up to date. You want to make sure that the right people are receiving the right notifications. And you can do that on the screen here, main page, you scroll down, and the button that says manage, you can work through how to change that contact list. You also want to make sure that your fiscal year end date is accurate. This will come into play when it's time for audits. So make sure that you have the right end date in your portal page. I'll just briefly go over the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, since Stacy went through this for this particular grant. But this is the item that has everything that you need for your particular grant that you want to apply for. It has information about the program itself, the funding information, who is eligible to apply, how to submit the application, and then all of the contacts and the review process. So definitely familiarize yourself with this document. And if you're interested in other state of Illinois grants, you can go to the Catalog of State Financial Assistance, or CSFA, and that is where you will find Notice of Funding Opportunities. Here at DCEO, we have all of our NOFOs on our website, so you can go to our website, which we have that in the chat, and you go to this first arrow here that says Apply for Funding. You click on that. Then it has a list of all of our current grant opportunities. Click on the one that you are interested in learning more about, and you will find this NOFO page. The first part of it has a brief summary of those important, due dates and funding information. And then you're going to want to scroll down to this item that says NOFO supplement. So that is the NOFO document that I'm talking about that has all of the information that you are going to need, along with it has other attachments and supplements that are relevant to your particular grant. All right, the Fiscal and Administrative Internal Controls Questionnaire, ICQ. This is a survey that needs to be completed in the GATA grantee portal once every state fiscal year. If it's used for all state agencies, so if you have already filled this out for the state fiscal year, you don't have to fill it out twice. But when you go into the portal, you scroll down from the main page and you'll see the Fiscal and Administrative ICQ part, and it'll let you know if an ICQ is needed. This is, the results of this is used to mitigate risk and build grantee capacity. I want to note that it is not punitive and it does not decide whether or not you're going to receive a grant or receive funding. The categories that you'll be asked questions about is your entity's quality of management systems, financial and programmatic reporting, ability to effectively implement requirements, and audits. All right, so I've laid out all of the pre-qualification items and how to submit your grant. I'll just give you a brief overview of kind of what to expect as a DCEO grantee. So please keep in mind that you will be submitting periodic financial reports and periodic performance reports. And these will be due to your assigned grant manager unless you're told otherwise. And you'll receive more information about that later. But it's good to just kind of know that you are going to be submitting periodic reports. And also want to note that all of this information will be laid out for you in the grant agreement. So no surprises there. You're going to know exactly when reports are due and how to submit them. Also want folks to keep in mind that an audit will be required for grantees that have state expenditures during their fiscal year. So you are going to be submitting your audit documents in the GATA grantee portal. Let's see, what type of audit is needed for your specific grant or your specific entity will be determined through a questionnaire called the certification form in the GATA grantee portal. So it's going to help guide you through what type of audit is needed and what type of documents are needed. Also want you to keep in mind that there will likely be a cost associated with an audit, and the grantee will be responsible for those expenses. And like I said before, the type of audit is determined by a series of questions in the certification form that have to do with your total expenditures of federal awards, your total expenditures of state awards, what type of entity you are, and it will tell you what sort of audit is needed. But it's just something to keep in mind that an audit will be required. All right, so you have many resources available to you as an applicant, as a grantee throughout the life cycle of the grant. With the Office of Accountability, you have the DCEO Grantee Resource Site. This resource contains several learning libraries, quick reference guides. We have instructional videos on many of the topics that I talked about today. I definitely recommend checking out this video training and resource library. I also recommend joining our upcoming grant trainings invitation list. So you can sign up for our weekly office hours that we have. It's a virtual office hours. You can come and ask us grant related questions. We have monthly pre-qualification trainings. We also have monthly trainings on revolving topics, many of the topics that I've talked about today. Our next one, I believe, is on procurement. I think maybe, yes, in May we have grant writing, so that might be of interest to you all. So I recommend joining our invitation list. Our office hours are Tuesdays from 2 to 3 virtually. You can also contact us at ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov. So you have the email that Stacy mentioned for this particular grant. So those program questions, if you have general questions about the GATA grantee portal, reporting, audits, that sort of thing, you can email us at ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov. All right, so I am going to stop sharing my screen and I will pass it back over to Stacy.
Okay, thank you, Amber, for the presentation about GATA training. It looks like we have ended a little bit early here.